Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting of the Council of Thames Centre here in Thorndale this evening. The date is Monday, October the 6th. It's 5 p.m., and I'd like to call this meeting to order. And the time is 5 right on the button. No additions to the agenda that I'm aware of, so a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as circulated. Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Crockett, all in favor? That carries. Thank you. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest from the members of council? Seeing none. Announcements, just a few. This is Small Business Month in the province of Ontario, so an opportunity in October to celebrate small business. So you may see us out and about visiting some businesses in the communities of Thames Centre with our little sign and our reliable photographer. So you may see us around town. The second thing is that it is also Public Library Month, so a good opportunity as a reminder to get out and make all the take all the benefits that are offered by Middlesex County Library, and there are lots. The other one is that I will just let you know that this weekend is the Donnybrook Fair, and it marks the 170th. Imagine that. The Dorchester Fall Fair. Did I say Donnybrook Fair? It used to be the Donnybrook Fair. That shows how old I am. Anyway, regardless, I hope you can all make it. All right, so getting into the meeting. A mover and a seconder that council adjourn its regular meeting at 5:02 p.m. and move into public meetings pursuant to the Planning Act to consider an application listed on the October 6th regular council agenda. The first one is a zoning bylaw amendment application Z17-20 AFTT Developments, Inc. Oh, I didn't give a mover in a second. Sorry. I hope it's not going to be one of those nights. Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. So all in favor? Okay, thanks. That carries. Okay, now we will go into the planning. Where was I? Let's start again. Zoning bylaw amendment application Z17-20 AFTT Developments, Inc., Joe Bardol, applicant, and Stuart Finlater, Finlater and Associates, Inc., as the agent, and the property address is 4340 Cromarty Drive. And we'll look for an overview of the application from Alana Cortez. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. So the purpose and effect of this application is to amend the regulations of the site-specific mobile home park MHP-3 zone to allow for 125 permanent year-round mobile home sites and 145 seasonal sites. And this zoning bylaw amendment is being requested as the site-specific MHP-3 zone currently limits the number of permanent year-round units to 55. And additionally, this application also proposes to amend the regulations of the site-specific MHP-3 zone. So the purpose of the report was to provide council with background information regarding the subject proposal, and the purpose of this public meeting is to facilitate feedback from the community. And following the public meeting, staff will consider all public and agency comments received and provide an evaluation report, including a recommendation for council's consideration at a future meeting. So this application was heard at a public meeting of Municipal Council on January 25th, 2021, and the application originally sought to amend the regulations of the site-specific zone to allow for 125 permanent year-round units, mobile home sites, and the request was sought given that the existing zone currently limits that number. And at the January 2021 meeting, the application was deferred by municipal council until a qualified professional had been retained to confirm the adequacy and appropriateness of the existing communal water and wastewater system in order to accommodate the additional sites. So the applicant has since provided an environmental compliance assessment ECA approval from the Ministry of the Environment. And the applicant has submitted a revised application to reflect the number of year-round and seasonal sites that can be accommodated by the communal water and wastewater system, as indicated in the MECP approval. So the applicant also requested amendments to the regulations of the zone. So currently, the site permits or the zone permits 55 units, and the request is for 145 seasonal and 125 year-round mobile home sites. For minimum lot area, the zoning bylaw requires the mobile home park itself to have a lot area of 4 hectares, and no changes proposed there. The mobile home site provisions require 335 square meters as the minimum lot area per site, and the applicant is requesting 240 square meters per site. For lot frontage, currently a mobile home park requires 100 meters of frontage. There's no proposed change there. The mobile home park site requires 13 meters for frontage, and the request is for 12 meters for a mobile home site. For the minimum front and exterior side yard depth, the mobile home park permits, or the mobile home zone permits 25 meters for a mobile home park, and the applicant is requesting 6 meters for a mobile home park. And then also for minimum front and exterior side yard depth for a mobile home site, the zone requires 3 meters, and the applicant is requesting 6. Additionally, for the interior side yard width, the current zone requires the park to have a 15-meter setback, and the proposed zone would require 4 meters or request 4 meters. And then a mobile home site requires 3 meters in the MHP3 zone, and currently 1.5 meters is being requested. Additionally, a setback for accessory buildings to a mobile home is requested to be 1 meter. Additionally, for rear yard depth, currently the zone requires mobile home parks to be set back 15 meters from the rear yard. The applicant is requesting 5 meters. The applicant or the zone requires a 4 meter rear yard setback for mobile home sites. The applicant is requesting 5 meters. For maximum lot coverage, this zone requires that mobile home parks have a 25% maximum lot coverage, and a 30% lot coverage per mobile home site. And in this case, the applicant is just requesting that the lot coverage for the entire site be a maximum of 30% without the site's specific lot coverage. Second last, the landscaped open space required in the zone is 5% of the lot area for the use in common by all persons living within the mobile home park, plus 30% of the area for each mobile home site. And the applicant is requesting 20% of the lot area, so not requiring a per site landscaped open space. And then lastly, the applicant is requesting a private road width of a minimum of 6 meters. And this currently is not a requirement right now in the MHP-3 zone. So as mentioned, as part of the application submission, the applicant has provided requesting zoning provisions shown within a draft bylaw, a site plan which does not show existing or proposed zoning regulations. They have submitted an environmental compliance approval application and environmental compliance approval, as well as a permit to take water. So surrounding land uses are predominantly agricultural in nature, although there are industrial and highway commercial uses to the west. And midway between Highway 401 and Cromarty lies a railway line owned by CP Rail in proximity to the resort. So our official plan includes policies in relation to mobile home designations, buffering, site suitability, and within the policy and regulations background, various policies with relation to housing, sewage, water, and stormwater, Land use compatibility are located within the report, taken from the provincial planning statement, the County of Middlesex official plan, and the Thames Center official plan. And as part of the agency circulation for this application, comments were received from the county engineer, the director of public works, the drainage superintendent, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, the fire chief, and the chief building official. And those are included within the report. Staff would also like to note staff's comments are included within the report. So site plan details are not sufficient to determine compliance with all the proposed zone standards. And without further detail, staff are concerned that the increased units would not be capable of meeting the proposed zoning standards. So it's difficult to tell whether the proposed zoning provisions are sufficient or appropriate. Also, the official plan states expansions to mobile home parks are not encouraged. The justification that was provided within the submission materials has not addressed how this proposal meets the intent of this policy. The proposal does not propose a specified buffer, distance, or setback from the industrial use. So how will this impact land use compatibility? And the circulation comments received in July from Aird and Burles were provided to the applicant or agent, and staff has not received a formal response to these concerns regarding land use compatibility and how the proposal would not cause unacceptable adverse impacts on surrounding land uses. The PPS 2024 requires an impact evaluation to be prepared when new residential uses are being situated within 300 meters of an industrial area. So those are planning staff's comments. And then after the writing of the report, comments were received from the Middlesex County Safety Standards Officer. I believe those comments were circulated to council, but I will read them out. So the comments are that the access roads to the living spaces have a minimum 6-meter width that allows emergency services to adequately that allows emergency services the adequate width to be able to travel in and out of the proposed expanded area. That the access roadway be designed by a qualified engineer and installed to their specifications that has a minimum granular base B with A or equivalent top/finish cover that will withstand the weight of the fire apparatus. That further discussions be had regarding an emergency access route off Cromarty Drive as per attached aerial view showing a blue dot for the location of the emergency access as the expansion is furthering more occupancy, still only having a single way in and out. 4, that a total review of the unit numbering pattern be done with the property owner, the municipality of Thames Center, in conjunction with the County of Middlesex for approval to ensure and maintain continuity in existing unit numbers to the new proposed expansion area. That wayfinding signs be installed inside the road system so street names and unit numbers are easily identified by emergency responders when responding within the private road system. And 6, that all living spaces have their approved unit numbers posted to municipal standards so they are maintained, visible, and unobstructed so emergency responders can easily identify the unit number when responding from the private road allowance. So those were comments from the Safety and Standards Officer. During the circulation of the public meeting notice, public comments were received from Aird and Burles on behalf of 2C Real Estate Holdings, Inc., Cardinal Courier. Those comments are attached to the report. And comments were also received from Chris Takich on behalf of Cardinal Courier, which are also attached to the report. So staff recommend, and I would like to note, staff is recommending a bit of an amended wording. So that application for zoning bylaw amendment Z17 to rezone the subject lands to permit 125 year-round and 145 seasonal sites and to amend the regulations of the MHP-3 zone be received for information, and that a subsequent report evaluating the subject application, taking into account all public and agency comments received, with a recommendation for council's consideration, be brought forward to a future meeting of council once sufficient information is provided by the applicant's team. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. I see that the applicant and the agent are in the room. Would you like to speak to this? Go ahead. I think everyone knows you, but you could identify yourself then, please.
It's on at a cabaret night or something. Yeah, thank you, council, for first of all, for letting us bring this planning application to the first meeting of the month as opposed to the second. We do appreciate that. Both myself and Mr. Bardol are not going to be around on the 20th, so we asked if it could be heard at this meeting. So thank you for doing that. My name is Stuart Finlater. I'm the principal of Finlater Associates Planning Inc., and I'm representing Mr. and Mrs. Bardol on this application. So Alana has provided a good background on the policies that staff feel are involved or pertinent to this proposed rezoning. I'm just going to, I'm not going to go over all of those policies that she's reviewed, but I would just like to provide clarification on a few points and to provide some background on the development of these lands as a mobile home park. So these lands were originally developed back in the early 1970s, and Mr. Bardot purchased the park approximately 25 years ago. Since then, he's made many improvements to the park and made it a very nice community to be part of. I don't know if any members of council have had the opportunity to go through the park or not, but he has done a fair bit of work in there, and it is a nice resort at this point. So there are a total of 270 sites in the park, and that's the number of sites that were there when Mr. Bardot purchased it. There are a combination of seasonal sites, so they can only be there for 7 months or less. There's like overnight tenting sites, and there's the 55 permanent sites. As Alana indicated, the lands are designated mobile home park in the official plan, and there's own mobile home park in the zoning bylaw. So as Alana said, again, currently there's 55 permanent year-round sites, which were approved by way of a zoning bylaw amendment in the past. I believe it was in the 1990s, somewhere around that. Given the change in housing market demands and the reductions in Canadians wintering in warmer climates in the USA for various reasons, there's a need for more affordable year-round housing in this area. And Mr. Bardol is trying to address that demand by converting an additional 70 of the already in place sites at the southeast corner of the development to year-round sites. So I just want to be clear to everybody that we're not expanding this site at all. We're not increasing the number of sites at all. Right now, he's got 270 sites, and he can put structures on those 270 sites with permits and so on. But the sites there's no increase in the number of sites on this property. All he wants to do is change the residency of 70 of them from 7 months a year to 12 months a year. And we didn't think that was going to be quite the ordeal that it's turned into. So our application was submitted back in late 2020. It went to council on January 25th, 2021, as Alana had indicated. And the main issue raised in that report from the planning director at that time was confirmation that the existing communal water and wastewater systems could handle the additional units on the sites that were already there. Mr. Bardol hired engineers to provide the Ministry of Environment with the necessary calculations, and he received that approval, amended certificate of compliance earlier this year, and that was submitted to the planning staff. I think it was in April or May of this year. And we asked that the matter be brought before council for a decision at that time. Staff indicated it would need to be recirculated, a new public meeting would require, and that's why we're here today. So again, just quickly, the report that was provided to you this evening from staff summarizes the original motion of council back in 2021 on paragraph 1 on page 2 of the report. And it basically says it was deferred until a qualified professional indicated that the services were appropriate. That's been done. It's our position that what we asked for in the bylaw amendment should be brought before council for passage. Staff continues to have some concerns and are suggesting like a planning justification report, a site plan agreement, and an impact evaluation, which is for new residential uses situated less than 300 meters from industrial site, should be provided. And that goes back to the letter of objection or concern from the neighbors. This is not a new residential use. This has been there since 1970, early 1970s. This site was there before Cardinal Couriers moved in there. And for them to say that we need to provide an impact study for new residential uses is just ridiculous. It's not new residential. It's been there for over 50 years. So, I mean, there's no increase in size in terms of actual acreage or the number of sites. As I said, Mr. Bardol is simply trying to change the tendency of 70 sites to year-round instead of 7 months. I can fully understand the need for these types of requirements, plan justification report, and studies about sound and noise and all that, if this was a greenfield development. But I don't think it's appropriate when we've got an existing site that's been there for 50 years. In terms of the impact on neighboring industrial uses, I would simply point out that to my knowledge, this park was in place prior to the courier company locating there. And for Mr. Bardol's position, he is unaware of any complaints over the 25 years that he has owned the park, either that they've complained about the park or the park people have complained about the neighboring use. So it seems to be a bit of a red herring. The studies being proposed by the neighbors would be applicable, I said, if this was a whole new development, but it's existing and certainly should have the right to develop on existing sites without interference from abutting landowners. And the proposed year-round sites are actually the furthest ones away from where this Cardinal Courier site is located. I mean, the Cardinal Courier site on the drawing on the screen or the aerial is on the top left-hand corner, and where the permanent sites are proposed to be located is on the bottom right corner. So they're nowhere near this particular neighbor, and it just doesn't make any sense what they're asking for. And similar to the county engineer, he stated in his comment, this is quite a change in the total number of units. There is no change in the number of units. What we're asking for is a change in the tenancy of the units that's already been approved in the past by this municipality, previous municipality, North Dorchester. But he says because there's going to be quite a change in the total number of units, there may be concerns at the nearby intersection, and we will likely be asking for a traffic impact study. There's no change in the number of units, and I don't believe there's any need for a traffic impact study. If the request is not approved for year-round sites on those additional 70 lots, they'll just be seasonal sites. Like there'll still be units on them. They'll just stay there for 7 months instead of 12. And again, in Mr. Bardol's 25 years in the business, he's of the strong opinion that the permanent sites generally have less people in them as a rule than the seasonal sites. It's usually one elderly person or an older couple that's downsized and moved in. The seasonal sites, which are great, have usually families and they come and go. They might stay for, the summer, they come out there, they go to baseball games, they come back. There's a lot of traffic generated, a lot more traffic generated by those types of units than the permanent year-round ones. And Mr. Bardol said today, like the park has gotten quieter over the years because of the conversion of some of these units to the year-round units. And that's what his opinion on this is. Mr. Bardol looks after everything in that subdivision, right? He looks after the wastewater system, the water system, the roads, maintains the roads, plows the roads. Garbage collection is all done internally. There's no cost to Thames Center for the operation of this site. And Mr. Bardol has been a good business person for the last 25 years here. And he just wants to deal with what's happening in the market. And it's got a designation mobile home park. We don't really understand why there has to be all of these studies and analysis and stuff done for what he's proposing to do. So, the whole issue about the side yards and the rear yards and the front yards, we never asked for that in our application. Staff said they needed to have that information before it could come before council. And I said, well, we can't do it. There's no lots. Where are we going to measure a side yard from a unit to and from? I agree 100%. I'm working with, as you know, another client in this municipality, and we've already got the survey done because it's a greenfield development that's going to be proposed or hopefully moves forward at some point. And I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. But to request a site plan and survey on every single one of these lots and what was asked for was a survey that showed each individual lot, I would call it a site, dimensions, location of the unit on the site, and the exact distance from side yards, rear yards, and front yards. I'm not sure what purpose that serves anybody. And you know, I got a price, and it's an exorbitant price, as you can imagine. You know what it costs to survey a 1 acre severance for a surplus farm dwelling, severance five or $6,000. Times that by 271 plus, because not only did they want the lot surveyed, they want to know the distance sidelines lot. So we went out, me and Ms. Bardot went out, we drove around, and we estimated what these yards would be. But we certainly didn't measure them. What are we going to measure them to? There's nothing there to measure them to. So we guesstimated, estimated, and that's the numbers that we provided because we were told that was needed before it could come before council. And so we did it to the best of our ability. And we're still hearing that we haven't provided the information that they need to evaluate it. And like I said, the cost for what was requested, Mr. Bardot is not going to do. It's just not practical to do that. And again, from a professional planning opinion, I'm not sure what the benefit of it is. The 6-meter roadway that was indicated that we requested, I believe that came from the CBO, who asked to confirm that the roads are all 6 meters. So we didn't request a 6-meter road. We put it in because that's what CBO said he needed. So, you know, we just want to work staff. We want to work with council. We're certainly not trying to upset the apple cart. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We just felt this was a fairly straightforward request. And, you know, we would simply ask council to approve the application as we've submitted it. And that's my position on it. So I don't know if Mr. Bardot has anything to say, your worship, or not. So.
Do you, Mr. Bardot? Do you have something you'd like to say to council?
Same thing again. Okay, thank you for hearing us out. Of course, we've been working on this for years and years. And to do a site plan now, it absolutely makes no sense for us. I mean, we can do it because the sites are in place, and there is nothing to be changed. A lot of the homes are right there. So what you see is what it is. So I would be awesome if everyone could come out and have and see it actually with your own eyes. Then it's a lot easier to understand. But I know that's impossible, but that's all I can ask for. We just hope that everybody understands what it is, what it's like, and that they can make a decision on that, because there is not much time left for me to go ahead with everything. And that's about all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Bardot. At this point, are there any questions from the public? Is there no one online? And is there anyone in the chambers who wants to speak? Would you like to come forward to the podium there and just identify yourself, please?
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. My name is Andrea Skinner. I'm a land use planning and development lawyer from Airden Burles. I did submit 2 letters to council. I'm here with a representative of Cardinal Couriers, my client. I have the Vice President of Cardinal Couriers Ontario operations here. So to the extent there's questions that I can't answer, I'd be happy to defer to him. Thank you for permitting me a few minutes to speak today. I'd like to give a short overview of our client's concerns and then the requests that we have of council in considering this application. And then, of course, I'd be pleased to answer any questions you might have. So a little bit about Cardinal Couriers. and thank you to staff for putting up the visual on the screen. I'm going to be referring, I have actually some hard copies of the map that's on the screen now. If it's helpful, I could hand those up, and otherwise I'm happy to have you turn it up. It was attached to my October 1st letter. Would you like a hard copy?
I think we can see it on our screens here on our iPads or laptops.
Okay, you can see what I can see, I guess. Oh,
Yes.
perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Didn't want you having to crane your crane your necks around. So a little bit about Cardinal Couriers. So my client's been operating Cardinal Couriers, which is a family-owned company that's one of Canada's largest privately held logistics companies. This again for almost 50 years. Cardinal Couriers is a wholly owned Canadian company. It's built its reputation as the most reliable pre-8 a.m. delivery service for time-sensitive goods and parts. The client base includes large national and international firms, a number of automotive companies. And so, for example, when dealerships need a part to arrive at the dealership overnight, Cardinal Couriers can get the part there overnight on time the next day by 8 a.m. So the client does operate a warehouse use and a logistics operation on the site at 3366 Putnam Road. That operation has been there for over 35 years. The site is utilized on a daily basis by dozens of workers and numerous large tractor trailers and five-ton straight trucks. And you can see on the map there outlined in blue, that's the Cardinal Couriers property. And sort of at the front of the property near the road, that's where the I guess the loading bank is. And so the trucks will come close to the property line, the shared property line with the applicant, and then back up to load and unload the freight. The peak busy period on the client site is between 10 p.m. and 3:30 a.m. And the nature of the operation is that there's truck movements in and out and throughout the site, together with other on-site activities that create, by their nature, create noise during the overnight period. So sources of noise include, for example, truck engines, engine brakes, backup safety beepers, air brake compressors, the loading and unloading of materials, trailer coupling and uncoupling. There also are a number of light sources on the site to ensure that on-site staff and the trucks and tractors have visibility when working in the evening and the night and the early mornings when it's dark out. And of course, headlights from vehicle operations. So Cardinal Couriers has a track record of being a good neighbor, and we want to continue to be a good neighbor. In order for that to happen, there are some measures that we believe need to be first assessed and then put into place. I heard Mr. Finletter say that there's no change to the number of units proposed, that they're not expanding or increasing the residential use. And I have to say that's different from my understanding in terms of what the zoning bylaw allows. So a zoning bylaw amendment, as I understand it, was passed in the 1990s, and that's what permitted the 55 permanent homes. You have in the staff report the chief building official's view that the existing zoning permits 55 mobile home sites, but doesn't speak to whether the mobile homes are permanent or seasonal. And in the CBO's opinion, the current wording would allow 270 mobile home sites versus the 55 that's permitted now. So I don't want to speak to whether or not there's been contravention of the zoning bylaw, and that's how we end up with the number of sites there are today. And I also don't know, I did look at the site on my way here today. I also don't know, how many unit or mobile home sites are operating. Again, I note from the staff report that there have been sites that have been added without proper permits, and the applicant, as I understood it, is aware that the operation of the site at the capacity they want isn't permitted until the zoning is in place. And that's what we're here for. So I was a little bit surprised to hear, comments like, this is, I'm not sure why we need further information. they're here with a zoning bylaw amendment to seek permission for almost 5 times the number of mobile home sites that are currently permitted on the property. In terms of provincial policy and the municipality's official plan policies, council will be well aware of the importance of protecting the long-term viability of existing employment or industrial facilities like our client site, and that adjacent sensitive land uses are only to be permitted if potential adverse impacts are minimized and mitigated. And I spoke about the nature of our client's operations, the light, the noise in the overnight hours, which, you know, there are compatibility concerns from a residential perspective. So in terms of, as I say, you know, Cardinal Couriers wishes to be a good neighbor, continue to be a good neighbor. We've reached out to the applicant, invited a discussion and a meeting to see how we can work together to make sure that the two uses, the two sites can coexist over the long term. We would ask that, I call it a land use compatibility and mitigation study, including a noise assessment, be undertaken. I know staff refer to it as an impact analysis. Essentially, that's a study that looks at what are the appropriate measures to put into place. And those could be such things as landscaping features, a berm, for example, which would attenuate noise, could be fencing, the installation of vegetative screening. A lot of those matters can be dealt with at the site plan stage. What can't be dealt with at the site plan stage is the setback. And you'll see on the visual there, the yellow. So that's the request in terms of the proposed bylaw as it is now. The request from the applicant is just a 4-meter setback. And what we're asking is that the zoning bylaw standard of 15 meters be put in place there to at least give that distance setback to allow for, at the site plan stage, to allow for a berm, landscaping, some sort of a privacy feature, a noise attenuation feature. And so 4 meters from my client's industrial operation with the lights and the noise in the evening and nighttime hours, 4 meters, you know, to residential uses in my view and in our view is incompatible. In my letter, I raised some other tools. Obviously, council has the ability to place a holding provision on any zoning bylaw approval with respect to this site. And there is specifically a holding provision in the municipality's official plan, which allows, which is a tool for council to require an impact study or a land use compatibility study for it to be required prior to the zoning becoming effective. And so we would put that forward as a potential request or tool that council has to again try to ensure the long-term viability of both our clients' industrial employment operation and the adjacent residential use. And then lastly, I suppose to the extent that council is able to direct staff to engage with Cardinal Couriers and with the applicant to try to come up with a solution that is going to be viable and appropriate for the long term, we're very much prepared to do that and would invite the opportunity to be able to be part of the solution rather than just sort of throwing up roadblocks. And again, I hope that our comments are seen in the constructive spirit that they're offered in. So subject to any questions, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Skinner. I'm going to turn this over to council now for some questions, or was there something else? Alana first.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I just wanted to make a point before you guys jump into questions, just based on a response received. So while the sites may be existing, with 70 of the sites being permanent, or a combination of mobile home and park model sites, sites being converted to allow permanent or seasonal mobile homes does have implications for zoning and building code requirements. And staff have not received a detailed site sketch to determine if the mobile homes or park model trailers meet applicable law. Also, our site plan control bylaw requires site plan control for the placement of 3 or more mobile homes, and that's consistent with the definition of development within the Planning Act. So staff would like the opportunity to discuss further with the applicant and agent. We're happy to set up a meeting when they're available, and typically we would place a holding provision on the subject lands to ensure that site plan control is carried out. Thank you.
Thanks, Alana. And a comment from the director.
Thank you, through your worship. I just want to mention too, I do appreciate the economic development perspective and Joe's site and all that he brings and wishes to do with the property. I just want to mention that the site plan requirement, the bylaw was passed originally on March 9th, 2020, and the agreement was brought in January 2021. So it was applicable law at that time, and site plan should still be required to, bring in those studies, and whether they're scoped or as per the site needed basis. Sometimes we have minor site plans and sometimes we have major site plans, and they require different engineering based on the comments we receive. So we can work with the clients to understand the further requirements of site plan, which we have been doing. So we'll continue to do so to try and get the site under compliance. Thank you.
Thank you. Stuart, you have another comment?
In terms of what was said by Eric Bayless, I would just ask council to disregard the comments of the CBO from a planning perspective, because he's not a planner. And for him to be writing comments like that, I think is inappropriate. And the comment that we're increasing it by 200 and something %, again, I think is just inappropriate. I mean, I indicated earlier that when Joe bought this property, there were 270 sites on this property. The 55 was a zoning amendment to allow some of them to become permanent, but it didn't mean that that entire site was zoned to allow 55 sites. That's just, I was around at that time, and that's just inaccurate and wrong interpretation of what is being proposed here. So I just wanted to clarify those two things for council. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Stuart. If there are no other questions from the public, then I will turn it over now to questions from council. Councillor Heyman, did you have your hand in the air?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I apologize for being late. I went to Dorchester out of habit, but I did tune into the live stream, so I didn't miss any of the comments. So I think there's a lot of history with this site, and someone who was around when the request for the environmental plan for the water and wastewater was requested. I think there was some things that were true now or then that are still true today, being that we have a tremendous need for affordable housing. And I think, specifically for right sizing and empty nesters. And we've talked previously about how allowing for movement of those individuals will open up additional housing stock for young families and increase market liquidity. I think that this is, as it was originally, a really good opportunity to provide affordable housing. And again, at very low cost, right? Really, the main cost is the planning, which has been at not inconsiderable expense to date. And as I recall, in many previous planning submissions, we have made these requirements conditions, and I don't understand why we are not proceeding to have a recommendation. We can disagree, but I think we should at least continue with the process. And I understand this has been delayed because of this disagreement, but I think that those things can be worked out, right? And I looked at our official plan. I looked at the PPS, and there's nowhere in there does it describe lot control within one park, right? We have one lot and we have sites within the park, and those sites are governed by the building code. And I think, again, when we look at planning, what is the purpose of orderly planning? The purpose of orderly planning is to have controls in place to deal with hazardous and risky and dangerous situations. And I think we have those mechanisms of doing so through site plan control and also through the building department and building inspections. I think, I understand it's a big site and there's lots of units, but I do agree with the common sense that you can't measure a line to a line that doesn't exist. So I'll finish with one anecdote. So this past January, when we were having some heavy snows, I got a call from a couple that were snowed in up at the north end of the township, and they were renting a small accommodation because they couldn't afford any other accommodation. And they called us because the landlord wasn't clearing the snow and the groceries couldn't be delivered. And they were only there because there was no other place for them to go. And I think we need to ask ourselves, what are we doing to create these housing opportunities? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Heeman. Anyone else from council? Councillor Lockie.
Yep, through your worship. So I do have a couple questions. So my first question would be from Ms. Scanner from Cardinal Couriers. Yeah, so first of all, congratulations to Cardinal Couriers on having such a great business. That's fantastic. Where I'm not really understanding is how this will inconvenience your business, because you're speaking about noise, but it's not noise coming from the trailer park. It's more you're concerned about your noise. So just was hoping to get a little bit more clarification on how this will inconvenience Cardinal Couriers.
Got it. Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, and thank you for the question. The concern is that there will be complaints from the residential site, from the mobile home site, to the municipality and to Cardinal Couriers that will affect their operations. And that, plain and simple, I mean, that's why, in my view, it's in the municipality's interest, it's in the applicant's interest and Cardinal Courier's interest to find a solution that's going to best mitigate against those potential complaints. Because once you put 270 people plus whoever else lives, so 270 people at a minimum, with different sensitivities, and there is the ongoing noise and visual lights and that sort of thing at night. The concern is that people will live there and not appreciate that that's the case at my client site, and that will result in, again, complaints that will potentially impact the operations of Cardinal Courier's business.
Right. Thanks for your answer.
Thank you.
I tend to agree with Councillor Heeman. I think sometimes, we may make things more complicated than they need to be. And, in terms of having the site plan, is it still on? Yeah. Okay. So in terms of having the site plan, that's a huge, huge expense. And I think this, look, I have been to the site, and I think it's, an excellent business. It gives some good options for housing that is, fits that need that we have. But I do have a question regarding the setback. So with the setback going from 15 to 4 meters, my question would be for the planner. So if we were to give approval today, what would be a reasonable amount of setback for the side that meets with Cardinal?
Through your worship to Councillor Lockie, I believe Cardinal Couriers is requesting a 15-meter setback for that lot line. Thank you.
But what would be reasonable in your opinion?
Through your worship to Councillor Lockie, I believe that without having information about compatibility, perhaps that's a discussion for the future we can have with the applicant. I'm not quite sure if I can put an exact number. The parent zone currently requires 15 meters right now. We do have different requirements in our zoning bylaw or for like planting strips. Those are 3 meters wide. But without that information, information on berming or anything like that, it's difficult to put a number on that. Thank you.
So my recommendation would be to give approval, but with regards to the setback, I think going from 15 to 4 meters might be a little bit extreme. Maybe go halfway and have like an 8-meter setback. I also want to recognize the comments that were sent by John Elston of the for the safety standards officer for the County of Middlesex. And I think those are very reasonable requirements. And so if we were to give approval, that those suggestions would be, factored in to the approval.
Thanks, Councillor Locke. Now I see a bunch of hands here. Can I just give Chantal an opportunity and then we'll come back to you, Mr. Finlater. Go ahead, Chantal.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, it is
You're
on.
good.
You can't hear your own echo, by the way. Tonight, I appreciate that this is coming for council for transparency. And to my knowledge, we're only receiving it for information because clearly, after the presentation tonight, I think there still needs to be some communication and some conversation that takes place. I understand that there is, I would say a little bit, I'm sure the applicant's a bit disparaged on the timeline of things that are taking place. And I do want to acknowledge that. But I just don't feel as though we have the information to move forward at this time. So I would like to just keep the motion as receiving for information this evening. And I think that the comments made tonight by both the neighbor, the applicant, council, and planning should be taken into consideration as those conversations continue. Thanks.
Turn myself off. Thanks, Councillor Cargan. Stuart, were you willing to make another comment?
Yeah, so along that property line, there's structures there that have been there for years and years, probably before Cardinal was there. And they may even have, and I'd have to look at this, legal non-conforming status where they predate any bylaws that we had here. So to suggest that we just simply move them back 8 or 10 meters when what we've provided is what I said, me and Joe went out and took a drive around and basically our best guess estimate was 4 meters was the closest one. They're not all 4 meters because there's some a little further back than others, but there's certainly no way that we're going to make it 15 meters or can make it 15 meters, or the lots can't be used, or the sites can't be used. So it's, I understand their concerns, and that would have been fine if they were there before this development happened and they wanted to have the standards met that are in the current zoning bylaw. But unfortunately, this development preceded that, and we've kind of got what we've got. And for to go back and now say you have to move all those units because the neighbor's not happy that their noise might cause our people that reside here to be upset. I don't think that's a reasonable approach, and I don't think that's something council should be dealing with.
So just while you're at the podium then, I have a question. Are these units that are backing onto Cardinal Couriers, are they the seasonal ones currently?
They're permanent ones.
They are
Yeah.
permanent?
Joe and his wife live in that very area, so
Okay.
they live on the property that they operate. So
Yeah, yeah.
They're
Okay.
aware that there's noises come from that site, and it is
Okay.
what it is. I mean,
I just needed that for my own
Sure.
clarification, just
Yeah.
to be on the same side. Okay, Councillor Heeman. And go ahead.
I think that there's a mutually compatible use, and I think that you know, an industrial business, zoned industrial, has a right to operate. And it brings to mind, you know, the request that CN has been making about having things registered on title and having things, having an understanding in the purchase agreements. And I think that there is, you know, a reasonable accommodation where there can be an understanding for leasees that this is a condition of the site, right? Because, you know, like, why can't we all just be good neighbors? And if this is what you signed up for, that's what you signed up for. You know what I mean?
And Deputy Mayor Smybert.
Thank you. I just had a question, I think, for staff. I'm just looking for, I guess, either clarification or rationale, because I just want to understand, is it staff's desire to have setbacks shown on a site plan for the trailers that are butting each other? Like, so that what the measurements are in between trailers, in addition to what the setback is from a trailer to a property line? And if so, I'm just looking for the reason why.
Ms. Cortez, are you taking that one? Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Deputy Mayor Smyber. So based on our discussion, our preliminary discussions with the applicant and amongst ourselves, we would like to see the sites laid out because that's how the zoning provisions are. That's how the zone provision, like that's what the zone provisions require. So they require setbacks from the site and from the property line. So we would like to see both because that's the only way for us to determine if the sites are meeting zoning. Thank you.
Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Oh, Amanda.
That's not fair. It does answer the question. I'm just unsure as to why we're doing that. That's all.
Director of Planning.
So thanks through your worship and to Deputy Mayor Smybert and council. We did discuss this together, and it could be scoped to being just the backs of the trailer lines rather than the full structure being surveyed, because we understand the survey cost with that. However, how are we going to measure accessory structures from the back line? So we need minimum setbacks just to ensure that we have one minimum setback to rely on for any proposed structure for the building official to issue permits. When we say we want, we would like more detailed information for the zoning piece, we're speaking to a site sketch. So we're not requesting a survey at this time. We just need proof of setbacks on a sketch. So we're not asking for the survey up front because we understand the cost of that. And I would state that the site plan unfortunately doesn't exempt mobile homes from requirements. And this would just be further information to get the zoning schedule in place, or else they would have to come back, revise that zoning schedule, pay for another zoning bylaw amendment if those setbacks are incorrect. So just thinking the rationale there. So both could be permissible, but we could scope it down to just the back.
Could you not just scope it down for the
entire site?
The lot, not for the entire site, but just for the lots that are being subject of the application to turn them from seasonal into year round?
Thanks. Yeah, I think staff's review was that 55 were only permitted and all the rest are illegal and have had non-compliance, right? So when we're reviewing this, we need to know the setbacks of, even if they did exist, they didn't exist with permission. So how are we going to utilize our zoning bylaw and provide a zoning schedule if we don't know those minimum setbacks of the existing ones?
Are there any other questions from council before we move on? No? Mr. Finlater? Do you want to use the mic, please?
So you said everything except the 55 units on that property are illegal.
Thanks, through your worship. The current zoning only permits 55.
And as I stated earlier, there's been 270 sites on this development predating the zoning bylaws. And for anybody to say that there's 200 and something illegal sites on this property is just not, it's not accurate. It's just not. So just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Heeman.
Well, I think we understand the disagreement at this point. And I would like, I do think there are compatible solutions. I think we do have some common goals here. And I think, there is clear provisions for site plan, but what is detailed in that, I think is subject to staff's recommendation. And I think we should move forward with this because I think we should be having those conversations in a more concerted manner. So I would be in favor of the recommended motion, with the understanding that it has provisions for the discussions and getting that understanding. So, and again, it's not going to come back with a recommendation until there is a consensus, I would imagine. So I would hate to see this delayed another month and require another presentation to council for a hearing. So I would be in favor of that motion, or the recommended motion, be willing to make that motion.
Councillor Heeman, are you moving the amended recommendation that was read out by the planner?
It.
Yes, and she amended it. She just had to make some minor changes to it.
So
Yes.
Okay.
as it reads now, the last part of the second line, from the site-specific mobile home park MHP3 zone to the site-specific mobile home park MHP-3-H holding zone, that was stricken from the motion. You're okay with that?
Yes.
Just for clarification. So you're willing to make a motion that based on the amended motion. So do we have a seconder for that one? Deputy Mayor Smybert, all in favor? And I see none opposed. All right, that carries. Thank you all for your attendance here. I know it's been a bit of a stretch, but I do appreciate your attendance here this evening. All right, moving on then, the recommended motion before us now is that the planning and public meeting adjourn at 6:02 p.m. and council reconvene its regular meeting. A mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Lockie and seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? That carries. Thanks. All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of previous minutes. It's item number 7 on your agenda. So we would be seeking approval of item 7.1, the special meeting minutes of September 22nd, 2025, and the regular meeting minutes also of September 22nd, 2025. Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Item number 8 on your agenda is the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are received for information in one motion. Council members may request that one or more items be separated for further action. Unless there are any being pulled, a mover and a seconder for consent agenda items 8.1 through 8.5 be received for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? That carries. Thanks. The next one is reports of departments, and the first one we'll start with is 9.1 Animal Control and Pound Keeping Services, and we're going to ask the clerk, Jen Nethercott, to present.
Good evening. And this is to present to you the received quote for our animal control and pound keeping services. Currently, we are with Hillside Kennels, and our agreement with them ends at the end of this year. We issued the RFQ as per the purchasing policy, and we did only receive one quote, which is from the current provider. It included only a small increase in price to one fee for service. And currently, our agreement with them is totally a pay-per-use with no retainer. I did contact and hear from close by service providers. They all had the same general comment. They weren't able to take on another municipality at this time. So it's up to council whether you want me to reissue this again or continue on with Hillside. We did meet all of the options by getting as many quotes as we were able to get. We met the purchasing policy.
Thanks, Jenna. Any questions from council? I see one from Councillor Crockett.
Not necessarily a question on the bid or the process or anything. I think it is what it is, and we need someone in place. So I'm happy to move that. I was just curious, since the conversation of aggressive dogs, animal control issues, off leash, etc., has been a topic of conversation. If you could just provide a little bit of an update for us on that, since it's on topic.
It is. The statistics will actually come in next council's agenda, but our numbers of aggressive dog and dog pickup complaints, we've dropped right off since the major seizure of animals early, or I guess middle of last year. Currently, we are, our major complaint is off-leash dogs. Our bylaw enforcement officer has worked heavily with the director of community services and facilities, and we've increased signage at all our parks and is making more of a visible attempt to be in parks on a daily basis just to check. He is unfortunately, it is especially prevalent here in the Thorndale Park, finding a lot of off-leash dogs, and they're not the same people over and over again. Education is the way we have been handling it, and everyone seems to be receptive when we explain. The complaints up here actually have come from a family with a child who is severely allergic, and they are scared to bring their child to the park for that reason. And it gets them understanding that just because your dog's friendly doesn't mean, we understand that, but it's not always just for aggressive dogs that you have to be on leash. So we are going to try and do a bit more of a campaign for that, but it seems to be accepted well once they understand it. There is some concern with the lack of connectivity to the current dog park in Thorndale, but that will probably be fixed with trails and master plan and things like that. So thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Councillor Heeman.
Thank you. Just while we're on the subject, is there any opportunity for enhanced signage around the grounds I know.
We put 10 signs, Steve. It's 10 signs. They're throughout the park as well as at every entrance. Unless you want them every 2 feet, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think that's enhanced enough. Thank you.
Yeah. We tripled the signs here in this park this year with, like I said, with the help of Steve and his staff. We created new ones. So
I recall the discussions, but thank you for the confirmation.
Anyone else? No? Okay, in that case, then I'm looking for a mover and a seconder that report number LS 011-25 be received for information, and that council directs staff to proceed with the renewal of the animal control contract with Hillside Kennels as of January the 1st, 2026. Moved by Councillor Crockett and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. The next item is again to our clerk, Ms. Nethercott, for the proposed 2026 council meeting dates.
good evening again. So I know it feels a little early, but it's better to get these dates out and about considering next year is an election year. And so we have some oddities when it comes to dates. It has presented some challenges. So I highlighted in the report the dates that are have been a little challenging to get to. So the first one would be Tuesday, April the 7th. Traditionally, council meetings are held on Monday. With the Easter holidays being a Friday and a Monday off, we scheduled this for Tuesday. And it is also the usual spring council meeting here in Thorndale. This is to assist staff, especially planning staff, with the fact that it's hard to do reports when there are two holidays back to back. It really shortens our time. And it also helps prevent us having an election the week that, council meeting the week of nominations opening. We have to take the election calendar into consideration. So that one's I know I kind of I polled you guys a little bit before, but hopefully that's a good one. July, we have only one scheduled in July, which is traditional. It's just a little bit later. And August did present quite a bit of a challenge for our one council meeting because of AMO, and I was not willing to host a council meeting the day nominations were due, the day they close. It's just a little too hectic for Sarah and I. So it also could be the first meeting being the 31st with lame duck provisions. You guys will be receiving reports on what lame duck means. Future, it just could be restricted acts of council depending on who signs up and who doesn't. And then the 28th will be hosted on Monday, the September 28th. We're moving what would traditionally be the fall meeting in Thorndale. We're moving it. Unfortunately, Thorndale got moved twice. Going to be moving it to September 28th council. It does presents the ability to have some more planning. And it's just due to the Thanksgiving holiday and the election being a Monday in October. There is only one meeting, and I'm going to be honest with you, hosting a meeting up here takes a half a day of staff's time out of the office. While we like doing it and we enjoy being up here, I'm just not sure it's appropriate on the month we're running an election for us. So Monday, October 19th is the only meeting in October. November 9 will mark the final council meeting for this term of council, and the new council term begins November 15th, as per the Act. So we will be doing the inauguration of the new council on November 16th. Get them going right away as quickly as we can. November's 18th and 19th. I set this aside for council training. I believe it's best to be as transparent as possible with incoming people and candidates that we will be having a fair amount of training, and these are the dates so they're aware ahead of time. While they can be evening meetings, they can also be partially through the day, depending on what's scheduled. We'll try to keep that information flowing as much as possible. And then we will also have some stuff to deal with budget, because that's a lot to take in when you first start council, as you guys well know. And the budget meetings we moved them back a week. We're starting budget meetings December 15th again to give the new council some time. You guys know what it's like to walk into something new, and I'm not saying that I'm not expecting all of you guys to return. You never know, but it's good to be as open as possible. So if council is comfortable with these slight alterations to our traditional schedule, we would be happy to publish these dates on our website and get the information out as part of a candidate package as soon as possible.
Thanks, Jana. So does anyone have any comments, objections, whatever? None? All right, then the motion before us is that report number LS 012-25 2026 council meeting schedule be received for information, and that the 2026 council meeting calendar as appended to this report be approved as presented. A mover and seconder, moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? That's good. Thank you. Okay. My mayor's report. So for activities over the month of September, I have the following report. On September the 4th, I had the pleasure of attending the Ontario Federation of Agricultural Regional Dinner and General Meeting held at the Willows in Nilestown. I appreciate the opportunity to attend these gatherings because I really do pick up a lot of information from the meetings, and also a chance for me to hear directly from the farm community. On Saturday, September the 6th, I joined with Councillors Heeman and Crockett, along with our fire chief and a voluntold son of Director McDonald, to take part in the corn shucking contest. And it was a fun day, but as usual, I lost. No trophy for me. On September the 12th, I traveled to Arrowwood Farm near Melbourne to attend the Middlesex County Business Appreciation event and spoke to several business people from the county. I was pleasantly surprised to learn that some TC involvement in the form of entertainment by our own Greg Williams, solo this time without his band of Dirty Magnolias, and also to learn that blueberry sparklers were produced right here in Thames Centre by Hemans. Before, and they were pretty good, Tom, I must say. Before September got going, I had the chance to go to the Upper Thames Conservation Authority admin building to see firsthand many brand new hatchlings of some baby turtles gathered from around the area, a number of which came from our own mill pond. We have some very dedicated members of our community who make it their mission to pick up lots of the newly laid eggs and take them to the UTCRA, where they are placed in incubators till the time comes for the little turtles to hatch. Hard to believe that something the size of a toonie, if given the chance, can turn into a large snapping turtle. I also want to recognize the work of these stewards of the pond, as they also removed fish hooks, etc., from some of the adult turtles. It's amazing work, and I thank you all for your efforts. Of course, included in my agenda are a series of council meetings of county council, and my additional responsibilities of being a member of the Kettle Creek Conservation Authority Board, the library board, and the local school advisory board, plus an online meeting of the Community Schools Alliance and a meeting of our own economic advisory board. And speaking of economic development, I want to extend sincere thanks to all our guest speakers. Kapil Lakota, who's the chair of the London Economic Development Corporation, Kimberly Earls of SCORE, South Central Ontario Regional Economic Development, and Cara Finn of Middlesex County for giving so freely of their time this past Thursday evening as we held a Mayor's Roundtable on economic development. The evening was well attended, and I want to recognize our incredible TC staff for all they did to make the evening successful. So kudos to all of you. And just another little announcement. Going forward this month, I'd like to inform the residents who are curious that we are now underway with our recruitment for a new CAO, and we will have more information as that progresses. Okay, and we have notice of a motion from Councillor Crockett. Would you like to read your motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Heeman.
Sorry, just before we proceed, and I was wondering if it's just possible, I know sometimes you do council remark or council updates.
Yeah.
So I just want to recognize the tragic loss that we experienced this past week in our community of a young man. And I've been approached by a number of people just remarking on the number of losses we've had in our youth community, and I think it's something that might be worth our attention in future. So just wanted to make that comment before the moment passed.
Thank you, Tom. And I was going to mention that as well, because this is another tragedy that no family should have to go through. So I want to extend our condolences to the entire community, as well as the family and friends of this young man. It was very sad news. Does anyone else wish to make any comments about anything? All right. So we'll move on to your notice of motion then, Chantal.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the motion itself is pretty short and clear, but I do want to add just a little bit of a preamble before the vote. Following the September 22nd meeting, council and staff have received considerable considerable feedback and opposition from residents regarding the proposed location for the community mural project approved in April. While I, along with the rest of council, continue to support the mural project and appreciate the generous donation that makes it possible, I believe it's important that we take a step back and explore alternative locations for the proposal in Dorchester, in consultation with the community, based on the feedback that we've heard over the past few weeks. Before stating the motion, however, I do want to express my deep disappointment in those who have disparaged or threatened the artist and consultant directly or indirectly. This project was advanced through a democratic process by council and its committees, and that in no way warranted such hostility. A project of this scale requires specialized expertise, and while we've heard calls for greater local involvement, some balance and compromise are needed. The consultant we engaged is from St. Thomas and should still be considered local to our region. Finally, while we can't formally accept online petitions or social media comments through our procedure bylaw, we have heard them and acknowledged the feedback. That's why the motion before us tonight is to defer the project until a new location can be identified with community input. Thank you.
Thank you for all of that, Councillor Crockett. Councillor Heeman?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to second that, and I would like to take personal responsibility for the situation we find ourselves in with respect to the mural at the Mill Pond. I hope our community will take the time served this past week communicating with members of the public, staff, and council to work on a consultation as my sentence in lieu. I understand that this site has particular historic and environmental significance to our community, and for that reason, I support the motion. But I also echo Councillor Crockett's comments and with respect to some of the feedback. I think art always is open to interpretation and to criticism, especially public art. And I didn't expect this to be received like a second grader's painting project and displayed prominently on the fridge without comment. But I wasn't prepared for the attacks that were leveled at someone who, I understand they're a consultant and it's easy to criticize consultants in the public sector, but the agreement was that they were volunteering their time and being compensated for costs only. And I think that this has left a very, very poor experience for that individual and for the artist. And I regret that in this instance, the public may have won the battle, but have lost the war in terms of the willingness to engage in future projects with this community. So again, the responsibility is mine as head of the Economic Development Committee. And I apologize for the undue hardship this has caused our community. But I do not accept the behavior that was on display in some instances. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Heeman. I will refrain from any comment, but I support your comments. So a mover and a seconder, so all in favor of the motion at hand. That carries. Thank you. Is there any new business that council wishes to raise? None? All right. So upcoming meeting schedule, Monday, October the 20th at 5 p.m. back in the Thames Center chambers. Monday, November 10th at also at 5 p.m. in the chambers. And just a note, as a reminder of the general planning and building open house coming up on the 22nd of October. It will be held in the Lions Den at the Flight Exec Center in Dorchester from 4:30 to 6:30, and it's of a general nature for planning and applications and that sort of thing. So anyone interested, I hope to see you there that night. So at the moment, council will be moving into closed session, for which there will be no live streaming. So I would like a mover and a seconder for that motion, please. And it's Councillor Lockie and seconded by Deputy Mayor Smyburn. And the time is 6:25 p.m. All in favor? Thank you. That's okay. We'll take about a 5 or 10 minute break, just to reorganize and then back here. Thanks. And we're back in open session now. During closed session, council considered items related to personal matters about an unidentifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees related to appointments to committees, community improvement plan applications, and the Green Champion Awards, and provided direction to staff. Council received advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And I'll now ask the clerk if there are any resolutions arising from closed session.
The following recommendations are being made in open session. That council appoint the following committee representatives to the Accessibility and Inclusivity Committee, Krista Vanderhoeven and Nicola Banks, and that a bylaw be brought forward at an upcoming council meeting to finalize these appointments.
Okay.
Mover and a seconder.
Mover and a seconder, Councillor Crockett and Councillor Lockie. All in favor? That carries. Thank you.
And one more, that council hereby approve the recommendations from the Economic Advisory Committee to award the following community improvement grant, provided that the applicant is able to provide proof of all conditions of the CIP criteria and the applicable laws have been met. So that the Dream Dorchester Takeout Restaurant located at 4063 Hamilton Road, Unit 3, be approved up to a maximum of $2,500, provided that the CIP criteria is met, provided that financial assistance agreement is executed, and provided that the unit complies with applicable law.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Smyburn, and seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Thank you. And item number 17, the confirmatory bylaw, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution of the municipality of Thames Centre, and that bylaw 79-2025, being the confirmatory bylaw, be read a first, second, and third and final time and be adopted. A mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Smyburn, and was that you, Councillor Heeman, seconding that? All in favor? Carried. So, a mover and a seconder for adjournment at 7:47 p.m. Councillor Crockett and Councillor Lockie. All in favor? Carried. Thank you all very much.